Okay, Brian Peets here from A1 Comics. We're going to work on an Amazing Fantasy 15 today. And actually what we're going to do is we are going to see if we can remove carefully some extra staples that the original owner added to the book as the cover had come loose from the factory staples. So we've got quite a few. I don't really have a pointer here other than this butter knife that I brought from home, but you can see here's one, here's one, here's one. Looks like there's three. So what we're going to do is take the book, we're going to flip it over and look at the back side. It's a little bit easier to see. So if I show you this, on the back side we have extra staple, extra staple, extra staple. And actually the reason that we're doing this in the first place, there's a little bit of debate, but there's definitely certain criteria with CGC or CBCS if they're grading a book as to what to do and how to consider extra staples in the grade or extra staple holes, which is what we're going to end up with. So we're going to end up obviously with 3 pairs of holes that weren't in the book in the first place. But again, being an Amazing Fantasy 15 and this book rapidly increasing in value, what I would like to do, what we're hoping to accomplish, is to get this cover squared back up. You can see here that we got quite a bit of overhang here on this side, but we've got a big gap over here on the open edge, the right-hand edge. And I like to get the whole book squared up, get all these little pieces flattened back out and everything. I don't know that we're going to improve the grade by that much, and I don't expect to, but I think the visual appearance of the book is going to be much greater. And as you can see, the color strike on this book is actually very, very good. The yellows are still very yellow, the red very red, the blues are good, there's no fading, there's not a lot of scuffing or dirt or anything else on the cover other than the original address stamp of the original owner. So he was quite prolific in putting that address stamp on all his early Silver Age Marvel books, but that's just something we'll have to live with. It'll be part of the history of the collection. So anyway, so what we're going to do, we're going to flip this back over and see if there's a way that we can lift these legs. Now I've done quite a bit of this in the past, and I wish I had some sort of telescopic vision, because it's really gets to be a problem when you look down in here and you see that even these new staples there, when they're so hard that the staple legs are actually digging into the cover. This set is pretty good. This set down here, well, this part of the cover had pulled away and so it never got stapled in. So there's a couple different ways to do this. What I like to do, if I can, is I got a pair of really fine edge side cutters here. And what I like to do is cut away as much of the staple as possible if I can get a nice clean snip with this thing here. The other alternative is to bend the staple leg up and then try and push it through the book, which we're going to do. But I have found that particularly with these older books where the paper quality has deteriorated, that when you start trying to push the staple through the book or something like that, it quite often will take a lot of material with it. And again, in a book in this condition, probably not going to affect the final grade, but it's just one of those things that I don't like to do. So I think we'll start here on the bottom one, which is the easiest. I'm going to take these snips, I'm going to come right in here. I think that call is from my friend Spam, but let me check. Oh no, it's Hilton. No, Paris and I go way back, but she's old news now, so we're just going to get rid of that. I think Paris is a grandmother by now, since I'm a grandfather. So, all right, so I'm going to go back to this same one. That came off very clean. I'm going to turn this around and see if I can get, again, with these. And these are nice because, again, they're very fine. They're very flat on the bottom. So it lets you, as long as I don't mess up, it lets you kind of get down to the book. You could press down some if you wanted to because of the flat bottom, but a little snip in it'll come off, or it won't. And I'm going to try, and this is where I wish I had the telescopic vision, because right there next to that little band of color is where I'm trying to work. So I can feel it, but it's really not pulling. But I think I've got that one off. So let's see. Yeah, so that one more. No, that one is still there. I'm going to work on the middle one. If you hear that noise, you know that you got it. It's like clipping a toenail. We're going to go here to the top half. Again, just a little bit of a press down. There you go. So it's right. Actually, just for the sake of our video here. There you go. So there's a little bit of a staple leg right there. So we're going to let that one go. This one looks like the top staple leg has pulled through, or probably pressed through when they did it. It was pretty rough. So I'm going to flip it around again, go for the bottom one. So same thing, kind of a delicate press down. Try and get just staple. And there you go. You heard that one too, I'm sure. So I think what that lets us do is I think we can fold this cover out now. It's got just a little bit of a hang up right here. Butter knives are nice because they're a very blunt edge. Some people would say, well, you don't really want to use anything metal, and you certainly don't want to use a sharp metal, but you can just tease it off that bottom leg there. There we go. Just barely wants to lift off. So there you go. So I like that. So you can again see that this part of the cover, the spine, it's pretty fragile. It's pretty fragile. So I'm going to go back, try one more time on this guy. For some reason, this one, it feels soft. So I'm going to try to figure out why this one won't just, maybe slightly more pressure. See if we can lift. That one's a real booger. So we'll try something else. I'm going to set this behind the staple leg. And I can pry it up just a little bit. And it broke off because I cut most of the way through it, so that's good. And the reason I use this, because again, with older paper, fragile paper, if you just start bending the legs everywhere, it's just going to enlarge the hole. And so again, despite the fact this is a very low-grade copy of this book, I would like to not increase any damage to it. So we still have one staple leg here that went through quite a bit. But the other thing that this allows us to do when you cut the staple legs off, as opposed to pushing the staple through, you can basically just lift each page up and over what little staple leg there is remaining, and that's a lot less harmful to the book. Because when we get to the front, well, again, we'll show you, as you're trying to push the staple leg through the book, and then the staple off the top of the book, sometimes it pulls pieces with it, and that's just something that we don't want to do. So I'm going to try to see if I can get this last staple leg, even though it's made holes in these last pages. There we go. So that came out pretty well. So again, now we're just going to tease everything up just a little bit. It's a bit of an unnerving sound if you can hear it, because it feels like it is tearing a little bit, but it's not. It's just everything is just lifting over the legs. Let's see if I can take a little more off of this one. Excellent. Excellent. So one of the other things that I'm not really noted for is patience, and that's really what you need to have a little bit of when you're doing something like this. Is just take your time. There's no need to get into a rush. I would feel a little bit better about trying to push this, despite what I just said. I would feel a little bit better about trying to push staples through if I at least could get to the centerfold, but this is actually lifting off very easily now. Now, I guess if I go slow enough, everybody can read it while if you don't mind reading in reverse. Right here, you can see the original staples. They're still in there holding the whole book together, so that's great. We're definitely not going to do anything with those guys. They need to stay there. But it may change the way pages are pulling off now that I'm going towards the front with those staples right there. Not really enough to grab onto there. Off, those are off, those are off. We definitely don't want to loosen the centerfold or any other wraps on this book. These two staples up here were really close together, and that's going to create a bit of a problem for us as we work towards the front of the book. You can see it starting to lift here, lays pretty flat down here. This last staple that was added near the bottom of the spine, it was well below the natural bottom staple of the book. The middle one were okay because of its position. This top one just clings a little bit. So I'm just going to do a little test. There we go. So we're getting close. It's always a good sound. That means you got the piece of metal far enough along. We have to go all the way back out to the top. Well, look at that. So we cut off enough on that one. That one just fell out. So that was the top one. That's great. That's great. So now we have the middle and the bottom. That would be nice if they would do the same thing, and it looks like they would. So there we go. So that lifted off. Now this one's the problem because look how loose this paper, and you know, it's raw and torn and old and things like that. This leg's still hanging on just a little bit, so we're just going to be very carefully see if we can lift. My big fingers are probably in the way here, but again, we don't want to damage anything else. If I pull a big piece of the paper off, we'll shut the camera off right away. Oh, there you go. So, boy, it's doesn't want to give up on that that bottom leg there. So let's just go back inside a bit. I don't feel a lot there, but I can see it right here. You can see the end of it right there, that leg. There we go, we got that out. So there we go. That's what we got. We've got the remnants of 3 extra staples that were put onto this book. Cover is now free and clear. So our next step is we will send it off to the presser. And again, all we're trying to do is get everything to lay flat, get all these little pieces in here to kind of lay over and make a nice looking book. And really try and fix this corner down here so that it looks nice. I mean, it's, you know, it's never going to be great, and we are, well, maybe not. We've got quite a big piece here, so we may, looks like we're missing a small piece on the front cover at the bottom. If I fold that one over on the bottom, so we're still going to have a piece missing right here, piece missing there, obviously. But I think it's just going to have a much nicer appearance. And that's really what, when I'm looking at a book and what I'm trying to do is I'm always looking at that first look, that what I call curb appeal. If it makes you look twice, then you know the book is starting to sell itself. And this book, again, with the great colors, you know, a mostly complete cover, a really nice interior that's still very supple despite the age and the wear. If we do it right, we get it pressed out correctly, and nothing happens to it in the grading process, it's going to come back looking really nice and be a very respectable collector's item. So what we'll do is we'll shut this off for today. We'll have it pressed. We'll do a little short video of it after it's pressed before we send it off, and then give you the final result in hopefully 2 weeks. So thank you very much for coming by, and we'll see you the next time around.